Iron Man wasn't born a hero. He didn't start with sacrifice. He didn't believe in responsibility. He believed in himself.
I'm the best.
This is not a story of a man who wanted to save the world. This is a story of a man who accidentally learned how to care about it. So, the man before the armor. Before the suit, there was Tony Stark. Tony Stark was a prodigy, a genius who built weapons before most people learned algebra. The son of a distant father, raised around machines instead of affection. And that mattered. Tony learned early that intelligence earns praise. Success replaces love, and control keeps you safe. So he became brilliant, arrogant, charming, and reckless. He didn't build weapons because he hated people, he built them because he never learned consequences. So to Tony, destruction was abstract numbers, contracts, headlines, until one day it wasn't. Tony is captured, injured by his own weapons, kept alive only because his mind is valuable. And for the first time in his life, Tony Stark cannot talk his way out. The cave strips him of everything: his wealth, his status, his illusion of control. And what remains is a man forced to sit with truth. I built this. This is a turning point, not because he becomes Iron Man, but because he becomes afraid. Afraid of his legacy, afraid of what his genius has done, afraid of who he really is without applauses. So he builds the suit, not to be a hero but to survive. Iron Man is born out of fear and guilt, not nobility. When Tony returns home, he doesn't change overnight. He quits weapons manufacturing, yes, but emotionally, he hides. The suit becomes a shield, a distraction, a way to stay powerful without being vulnerable. Tony jokes, he deflects, he performs. Because if he slows down, he has to face the weight of what he has done. Iron Man isn't confidence, Iron Man is avoidance in metal form. So, the illusion of control. As threats grow, Tony's fear grows with them. Aliens, gods, monsters, a universe that doesn't care how smart you are. And Tony responds the only way he knows how. Control everything. More suits, more protocols, more plans. Even his friends became variables. This is Tony's greatest flaw. He believes safety comes from preparation, not trust. And it cost him. Relationships strain, mistakes multiply. People get hurt. Tony isn't evil, he's actually more terrified of failure. Every loss stays with him. He remembers names, faces, consequences. Tony Stark carries guilt the way others carry faith. And instead of letting it break him, he let it drive him. He built because building is the only way he knows how to apologize, not with words but with solutions. As time passes by, something shifts. Tony stops building just for himself. He starts building for others. He becomes a mentor, a protector, a man trying, imperfectly, to do better. He learns that you can save everyone, you can control everything, you can still choose to show up. And for the first time, Tony Stark allows himself to be human. When the end comes, Tony understands something crucial. This isn't about winning, this is about choosing others over yourself. No suit can save him this time, no backup plan, no escape, only a choice. And for the first time in his life, Tony Stark doesn't run from fear, he accepts it. He sacrificed everything. Not because
Iron Man.
he wants to be remembered, but because someone has to do it. And this time, he's ready. Iron Man's story isn't about strength, it's about growth. He begins as a man who thinks. The world revolves around me, and ends as a man who understands. I'm willing to disappear so others can live. That is character development. Not perfection, not purity, but responsibility, learned the hard way. And that's a reflection in the Bible of Book of Acts. Before he was Paul, he was Saul of Tarsus. Saul was brilliant, highly educated, respected, powerful. He didn't see himself as evil. He believed he was protecting the world. Just like Tony Stark, building weapons for peace. Saul hunted Christians, believing he was defending God. He had authority instead of armor, law instead of technology, and certainty instead of humility. And that certainty made him dangerous, because the most destructive people are often the ones who believe they are right. Then comes the moment that changed everything. On the road to Damascus, Saul is struck by blinding light. He falls. He is physically blinded, but for the first time in his life he sees. A voice asks him, "Why are you persecuting me?" Just like Tony Stark in the cave realized his weapons are killing innocent people, Saul realized, "I am fighting the very truth I claim to serve." This is a cave moment, stripped of power, stripped of certainty, and stripped of identity. Saul doesn't choose transformation, it happens to him. So after the light fades, Saul can see. The man who led others now must be led. The man with answers now has only questions. This mirrors Tony Stark after captivity. Trauma replaces ego, reflection replaces arrogance, silence replaces confidence. Both men are forced to sit with guilt, and guilt becomes the seed of change. So then Saul becomes Paul, not because of rebranding, but because the old man cannot survive the truth. Tony becomes Iron Man not as a costume but as a symbol of responsibility. Paul doesn't erase his past, he carries it. He becomes more committed than anyone else because he knows the cost of being wrong, just like Tony. Just like Tony, Paul builds instead of destroys. Not weapons, but communities. So Paul never forgets what he did. He writes openly about his past. "I was a persecutor, I was violent, I was wrong." Tony keeps a list of names in his head. Paul keeps them in his letters. Both men transformed guilt into service, not to redeem themselves, but to protect others from repeating their mistakes. So the mission that cost everything. Paul travels endlessly. He is beaten, imprisoned, mocked. Tony fights endlessly. He is wounded, misunderstood, burdened. Neither walks away. Why? Because once you truly see the damage you have caused, comfort becomes impossible. Paul could have lived quietly. Tony could have stopped building suits. But responsibility doesn't let you rest. So Paul knows how his story ends. Executed, death, no applause. And yet he continues. Just like Tony Stark snapping his fingers, Paul accepts that obedience may cost his life. Their final understanding is the same. This isn't about me anymore. No escape plan, no armor, nor authority. Only surrender. So now we come at the end. The first wisdom, awakening comes when you face the damage you've caused. Both Iron Man and Paul the Apostle don't change because they want to be good. They change because they finally see the consequences of their actions. Tony Stark sees his weapons in the hands of terrorists. Paul realized he's persecuting the very people God loves. Transformation begins with honest confrontation, not denial. From the Bible verse Acts 9:4-5. "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" This is not condemnation, it's revelation. How you implement this in your daily life. Take responsibility without excuses. Ask yourself, who is affected by what I'm doing right now? Growth begins the moment you stop saying, "That's just how it is." So for example, if money, ego, or ambition is hurting relationships, don't justify it, confront it. Wisdom 2. Guilt can either destroy you or shape you. Neither Tony nor Paul escapes guilt. The difference? They don't let guilt paralyze them, they repurpose it. Paul builds communities instead of persecution. They don't erase the past, they redeem it. From Timothy 1:13-15. "I was once a blasphemer and a persecutor, but I was shown mercy." Paul doesn't hide his past, he uses it to prove of grace. How you implement this in your life. Stop trying to forget your mistakes. Ask, what can this pain teach me to protect others? turn regret into responsibility. To practice, if you once chased money blindly, become someone who teaches wisdom about it. And the last wisdom, true maturity is choosing responsibility over control. At first, both men believe safety comes before control. Tony builds more suits, more protocols. Paul once enforced law and authority, but both learn the same hard truth. You cannot control everything, but you can choose to be responsible. Their final acts are not about power, they're about self-giving. From the Bible verse, Acts 26:16, I've appeared to you to appoint you as a servant. Leadership isn't dominance, it's service. And to implement it in your life, stop asking, how do I protect myself? Start asking, what is my responsibility here? Responsibility often costs comfort, but builds legacy. So, in practical example, being a father, a leader, or a creator means showing up even when there's no applause. And it was it for this video. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember, before you can face the world, take courage to face your inner demon. And before you can love someone else, learn to love yourself. Have a good one.
In the dark, I move with grace. Stories and visions in the digital space. Game on the screen, faith in the flow. Soul in the beat, that's how I grow. Warrior fresco, feel that sound. Heart of a lion, spirit profound. From the street to the scrolls, I blend it all. Modern, so divine, call love.